Meridian Station floated in deep space, far away from Earth and far away from war. It was a place where different alien species came to trade, work, and hide from their past. On this station lived a human named Elias Vorn. Most people knew him as a simple repair worker. He fixed broken engines, damaged doors, and power systems. He did not talk much. He worked hard, got paid, and went home. To the aliens on the station, he looked ordinary. But Elias was not ordinary. Years ago, he had been part of a secret human military program. His body had been changed. His bones were stronger. His reflexes were faster. His mind could think quicker than most computers. He had completed missions no normal soldier could survive. His code name had been A-17, but that life was over. Now, he lived for only one reason: his daughter, Lyra. Lyra was 12 years old. She had bright eyes and endless questions. She was not afraid of aliens. She talked to everyone: tall insect-like traders, blue-skinned engineers, even the large armored Cathari who worked security in the lower sectors. Elias always watched her carefully. He trusted the station. But he did not trust the galaxy.
One evening, Lyra did not come home.
At first, Elias thought she was late. Maybe she had stayed with friends. Maybe she was exploring the market again. But hours passed. He searched the market level, then the docking bays, then the food courts. No one had seen her. A cold feeling began to grow inside his chest. Elias went to the station security office. The officer on duty, a tall gray alien named Vectal, checked the cameras. "There is no record," Vectal said slowly. "The footage from Corridor 7 is missing." "Missing?" Elias asked quietly. "Yes." "Deleted." That was not an accident. Someone had taken her. Elias returned home. The apartment felt empty without Lyra's voice. Her small shoes were still near the door. Her datapad was still charging on the table. Then his wall terminal beeped, an unknown signal. Elias opened it. A video began to play. Lyra appeared on the screen. Her hands were tied behind a metal chair. There was a bruise on her cheek. Her lip was cut. But she was awake. Behind her stood a tall reptilian alien, a Cathari. The alien smiled into the camera. "Human," it hissed. "Your child is strong. She refuses to cry." He did not blink. "If you want her alive," the Cathari continued, "come alone." Docking Bay 94. No weapons. No station security. The video ended. The room became silent. For a long moment, Elias stood completely still. Then he slowly walked to a locked metal case under his bed. He opened it. Inside were things he had promised never to touch again: combat gloves, neural stimulators, a small black injector, and an old military tag marked a 17. He picked up the tag and stared at it. He had left that life behind. But they had touched his daughter. His hand tightened into a fist. His breathing changed. Slower. Controlled. On the other side of the station, inside a hidden cargo ship, the Cathari laughed. They believed they had captured a simple mechanic's child. They believed the human father would beg, maybe even trade himself. They did not know who he truly was. They did not know that Elias Vorn had once destroyed pirate fleets alone. They did not know that he had survived battles that killed entire squads. They only saw a quiet man. Eli's closed the metal case. When he stood up, something inside him had changed. The mechanic was gone. The soldier had returned, and this time, it was personal. Docking Bay 94 was dark and quiet. Most of the lights were turned off. Only a few red emergency strips glowed along the walls. Large cargo crates were stacked everywhere, creating deep shadows. The Cathari thought the darkness would give them control. They were wrong. Elias Vorn entered the docking bay slowly. His hands were empty, just as the message had ordered. His face showed no emotion. But inside his body, everything was active. Before leaving his apartment, he had used the small black injector from the metal case. The liquid inside moved through his veins, waking up old systems inside him. His heart became steady and powerful. His senses sharpened. Every sound, every movement, every breath in the room became clear. He could hear 6 heartbeats, not 1, not 2. 6. They were hiding. A cargo ship stood at the center of the bay. Its loading ramp was open. Yellow light spilled out from inside. A tall Cathari stepped forward from the shadows. "You came alone," it said, smiling with sharp teeth.
Yes, Elias answered calmly. The Cathari studied him.
"You are brave, or stupid." Elias said nothing. 2 more Cathari walked out behind him. Large. "Arm!" "Your daughter is alive," the first one said. "For now." "Let me see her," Elias said. The Cathari made a small gesture. From inside the ship, 2 guards dragged Lyra down the ramp. Her hands were tied. Her face was bruised more than before, but her eyes were still strong. "Dad!" she shouted. Elias looked at her only once. That was enough. He saw fear. He saw pain, and he saw that she was still fighting. The Cathari leader moved closer to Elias. "You humans are weak alone. You protect your children, yes? You suffer for them."
Elias spoke quietly. Yes. The Cathari smiled wider.
"Good." Without warning, one of the guards struck Lyra across the face. For 1 second, everything became silent. Then, the first Cathari died. Elias moved faster than any of them expected. His hand shot forward, grabbing the leader's throat. With one strong twist, there was a loud crack. The body dropped. Before the others could react, Elias rolled to the side, taking a fallen weapon from the ground. He fired twice. 2 guards collapsed. The remaining Cathari roared in anger and opened fire. But Elias was already moving. He ran straight toward the cargo crates, using them as cover. Shots hit metal walls. Sparks filled the air.
The Cathari were strong and fast, but Elias was trained for war.
He calculated angles in his mind. He listened to their footsteps. He predicted their movements before they made them. One Cathari jumped from behind a crate. Elias stepped forward instead of back. He blocked the alien's arm, drove his elbow into its chest, then slammed it into the ground with brutal force. Another tried to grab him from behind. Elias twisted, locked the alien's arm, and dislocated its shoulder with a sharp movement. Screams filled the bay. Within less than a minute, it was over. The floor was covered with silent bodies. Only one Cathari remained alive.
They crawled backward, shaking. "You!"
"You are not normal," it whispered. Elias walked toward it slowly.
"Where is the ship going?" Elias asked.
The Cathari laughed nervously. "You are too late. The main ship already left. Your daughter was only bait." Elias stopped.
"What? This was only a test. The syndicate leader has her now."
Far from here, for the first time, anger flashed in Elias's eyes.
He grabbed the alien by its collar. "Coordinates." The Cathari gave them quickly.
Elias knocked it unconscious. He rushed to Lyra and cut her restraints.
"Are you hurt badly?" he asked softly. She shook her head. "They said they wanted you. They kept asking who you really are." "I am your father," he said. In the distance, alarms suddenly began to ring across the station. Someone had reported the fight. Security ships would arrive soon. Elias looked toward the stars outside the docking bay. The real enemy was already escaping. And now, this was no longer just a rescue. It was war. The Cathari ship, Vroxthel, moved like a shadow across the black void of space. Its sleek hull reflected distant stars, but inside, it was chaos. Elias Vorn had not wasted a second after leaving Meridian Station. He had calculated the ship's route using the stolen coordinates and followed it through a narrow asteroid field. hiding his approach behind drifting rocks and smoke from small collisions. Lyra stayed behind him in the small skiff. Her face was pale, but her eyes were wide with fear and awe. "You really are fast," she whispered.
Elias did not answer. He never answered.
He only moved inside the Vraxal. The Syndicate captain was furious. "How is this possible?" the reptilian leader hissed to his officers. "The human should not be capable of this." "They said he was gone," another officer replied.
He should have died long ago. The captain slammed a clawed hand on the table.
"Then he is not just a human. He is something else." Meanwhile, Elias's skiff docked silently on the side of the Vraxthel, near a maintenance hatch. He slipped inside without alarms triggering. The Cathari had underestimated one thing: a human who had been perfected for war. Elias moved through the corridors like a shadow. Every step was precise, every breath controlled. He could hear the hum of energy shields, the faint clank of weapons being loaded, even the footsteps of a guard miles away. He found Lyra first. She was in a holding cell, surrounded by other prisoners. Humans, aliens, children. Many had been frightened into silence, but seeing Elias, their hope returned. "Dad!" Lyra shouted, her voice strong despite her bruises. Elias knelt and whispered, "Stay quiet."
I will get you out. Then he opened the cell doors.
The prisoners froze, unsure what to do. But Elias moved like a predator in a storm. He grabbed weapons from fallen guards and handed them to those who could fight. The Vraxthel's alarms finally blared. The Cathari realized the intruder had not come to negotiate. He had come to destroy. The first wave of soldiers tried to intercept him. Elias did not fight like a normal human. He anticipated their attacks before they began. He moved faster than the eye could follow. A Cathari tried to swing a heavy club. Elias sidestepped and pushed him into the wall. The alien's skull cracked with a sickening sound. Another fired a laser rifle. Elias rolled behind a crate, calculated the angle, and threw a sharp-edged tool with deadly precision. It struck the weapon from the alien's hands and sliced through the control panel behind him. Sparks rained down. The prisoners began to rally. Even those who had been weak found courage. The humans and aliens alike followed Elias, moving with him through the ship like a small army guided by a single mind. Finally, Elias reached the command deck. The captain and his officers waited, thinking a terrified father would beg. They had no idea what was coming. Elias entered slowly. Calm, eyes fixed, his body tense, ready for the strike. The captain froze. He stared at Elias's face, then recognition hit. Project Titan. A-17. Impossible, he hissed. Yes, Elias said softly. I am who you thought was dead, and now you will pay. The Cathari tried to activate the ship's self-destruct, hoping to take everyone with them. Elias did not panic. His mind raced with calculations. He understood every system, every potential failure. He could stop it, but it would cost him. He looked at Lyra. She was behind the console, clutching a small guard's weapon for protection. You'll be okay, he whispered. Then, moving faster than the Cathari could see, Elias disabled the self-destruct, manually rerouting energy through the core. Radiation poured around him. The ship shuddered, systems groaned, but he did not stop. The Cathari captain watched, stunned, as the humans survived exposure that would kill an entire squad. The ship's alarms died. Silence returned. The Syndicate's control had ended. Their prisoners were free. And Elias was still standing, calm, unbroken. He looked at the captain and said quietly, "This is your last warning. Hurt a human, and you will regret it." Lyra ran to her father. He embraced her, but his eyes were already scanning the next steps. The galaxy would hear about this. Humans were not weak. Humans were patient, and humans would fight for their own. The Vraxthel hung silent in space, its engines cold, its corridors littered with unconscious Cathari soldiers. The ship was theirs now, but the battle was not over. Elias Vorn stood in the command deck, Lyra beside him, Her small hand held his, trembling but steady. He looked at her, proud and protective, then at the ship's control panels. Every system was alive, ready to take them wherever they needed to go. "Dad, what happens now?" Lyra asked quietly. Elias took a deep breath. "Now, we make sure no one ever hurts people like this again."
He turned to the ship's communications.
With a few commands, he broadcasted the truth across the Coalition network. Every station in the sector, every patrol ship, every trade vessel received the same message. Their operations are dismantled. All captives are freed. Humans are not to be tested. Humans protect their own. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Some did not believe it at first. A single human taking over a Cathari ship, freeing prisoners alone? It sounded impossible. But then the patrols arrived. They scanned the Vraxtel and found it exactly as Elias had said. The Cathari captain, humiliated and beaten, was handed over to Coalition authorities. He could only stare at Elias. "You survived," he said hoarsely. Elias shook his head. "I did more than survive. I stopped you from hurting anyone else. Let's go home." Lyra hugged him tightly. "I'm glad you came for me." Elias held her. "You are never alone. Not while I'm here." For the first time in years, Elias allowed himself a moment of peace. The soldier inside him, the monster they had created in the war labs, was quiet. All that remained was a father protecting his child. But the galaxy had already noticed. The story spread faster than any report or signal could travel. Other syndicate cells who had relied on fear and cruelty began to collapse. Human systems in nearby sectors received warnings. Hurt a human, and the consequences will be terrible. Humanity had earned a new reputation, not just for fighting, but for survival, for cleverness, for a quiet but unstoppable force. Elias and Lyra left the Raxtel behind and returned to Meridian Station. The station, once busy with traders and tourists, now felt safer. People whispered about the silent human who had destroyed the syndicate, but Elias ignored them. He only cared about Lyra. That night, as they sat together in their small apartment, Lyra asked a question that had been on her mind. "Dad, why didn't you ever tell me who you were?" Elias looked at her, tired but calm. "Because I wanted you to grow up believing the galaxy could be good. I wanted you to see kindness first, not fear." Lyra smiled faintly. "And now?" "Now," he said softly. "They know. But they will also know one thing about humans. Never underestimate us. Never harm our children. Never think love is weakness." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. Some shone faintly. Others burned bright. Somewhere, alien fleets were talking. They were learning quickly that humans were more than they seemed. Patient, careful, and full of surprises. And one thing was clear. If a human chose to fight, the galaxy would notice. Elias held Lyra close. The battle was over, but the lesson had begun. Humanity was not just a species. It was a force to be respected, feared, and admired. The first warning had been sent.